that if King George III had reason to be upset before, well, now he has.
Boston is one of the greatest cities in the United States to go to if you are a foodie. Joe and I really were looking forward to trying out some of the many restaurants here. The first one we went to was Bistro du Midi in the Back Bay area where we were staying. They are a little French cafe and they're very well known for their brunches. We started off with a cheese board with cranberry bread and an assortment of 2 different kinds of cheeses and some dried fruits. Then I went on to have the croque monsieur, which is basically the adult version of a grilled cheese sandwich, and a Caesar salad. And Joe had another type of salad. I can't remember what all he had on it. Avocado and some different, like it was almost like a BLT salad, but it was delicious. He also tried a stout beer while we were there, which was a German beer, and it was really smooth. Then it was off to the trolley to tour the town and listen to some of the history. Our guides were really, really good, and the guides can always suggest a great place. Next, it was on to Faneuil Hall, which is an awesome shopping area, but also there's so many different restaurants all around the courtyard. We actually were so full from our brunch that we didn't try anything there, and we just enjoyed the sights. But if you wanted a great meal, you could find so many different restaurants at Faneuil Hall. Later that day, we went on to Old Ironsides to tour the ship, the USS Constitution, and looked at the Christmas lights. And we grabbed a late bite to eat at one of the many cafes called Tat. Tat has more than 30 locations in the greater Boston area. This is the Back Bay location that we went to. Joe wasn't very hungry, but I decided that I wanted to try a pastry. So I had one of their chocolate bombs, and I also had a bowl of their tomato basil soup, which was so delicious. It came with this toasted bread, and I had a latte. Such a great treat. And then it was off to tour the city by foot and enjoy the many buildings lit up for the season. Back to the hotel that evening. It had such a great ambiance. We really enjoyed our hotel. We stayed at the Hilton Boston in the Back Bay area, which is the more historic area of Boston with all the brownstones and the cobblestone streets. It's a great shopping area, but it's really just a nice area to enjoy the history. They have a really nice restaurant and bar in the hotel, and Joe decided to go ahead and get a sandwich and some fries, and we had the greatest green beans ever. They were cooked perfectly. The next morning, we got up and got on the trolley and went to the north end of Boston, which is known as Little Italy. We were planning on attending church in the Old North Church. We had tickets reserved for service. There are a lot of places to walk to within distance of the Old North Church. That morning, we decided to have cannoli for breakfast. There are 2 famous places that sell cannoli in the area. One is Bova's Italian Bakery, and the other is Mike's Pastry Company. Bova's is a little bit more small business feel. It's definitely like smaller in there, but they still have just as many wonderful treats. I wanted to try everything, but it wasn't possible. We ordered a bunch of cannolis, and then we went to Mike's Pastry so that we could compare. Mike's Pastry is the more famous one, and it's like more of a larger, like, just popular place to go. We actually ended up liking the cream in Mike's Pastry a little bit better. They fill their cannolis with more cream. However, both places were delicious, and the cannoli war continues. Justin, first looking at them, it looks like Bova's is a little smaller and doesn't have powdered sugar. They didn't offer powdered sugar. However, they both look delicious. So we're going to try this one. one bite. All right. Super creamy. This one, I'm kind of drooling over this one from Mike's just because we were just in there and it smelled so good. And look at that powdered sugar all over it. Yum. And then it's humongous. Oh my gosh. The cream is so good. Here. Taste. Isn't that cream delicious? It's much more of a pastry cream flavor. I would say that even though Boba's is really good, the cream was more like more icing. It wasn't totally icing, but it had less cream than like an icing flavor. But they're both delicious. So if I had to pick, I would say Mike's. What do you think? Would you pick Mike's?
I don't know.
They're just different, aren't they?
There's a little bit of a difference in the flavors.
I have to say though that fruit tart that I had this morning from Boba's, it was to die for. Like, I feel like Boba's had a lot of really delicious desserts that were not the cannolis. And there's so many things that you could try at both places, so can't really go wrong. After church, we headed to one of the many Italian restaurants, and we tried out Giacomo's, which is supposed to be one of the best Italian restaurants in Boston. They sent us upstairs to a quiet little area where we could see out over the city. It was beautiful. And there we had the best calamari appetizer I think I have ever eaten. And I know some calamari. We usually get calamari almost any time that we go somewhere where it's served. And I definitely have an opinion on what is a good calamari and what's not. This was cooked to perfection. It was nice and juicy on the inside and so crispy on the outside. The oil and the salt were just right. Served with lemon. And they also did this unusual thing. At least I've never experienced it before. They fried sweet peppers and pepperoni into their mixture with their calamari. And that just added a little touch that just set it off and made it so delicious. We ordered 2 different types of pasta. I had a fettuccine with a tomato cream sauce with basil, and it had lobster and shrimp in it. And Joe ordered another type of pasta. I think it was linguine pasta, so it was a little not quite as wide of the noodle, and his sauce was more tomato than creamy. That was probably the best meal that we had while we were there. The next morning, it was our last morning. We got up on Monday and went to Flower Bakery and Cafe. It was a short walk down the street from our hotel. So if you stay at the Hilton Boston Back Bay, it's a great place for breakfast. They have so many different selections, but we'd had so many bakery items already. I was more interested in the breakfast sandwiches. It is a hop-in place, so sometimes seating can be a little bit hard to come by. Joe got a breakfast sandwich, and I got the avocado toast, and we shared the sticky bun. All in all, it was a great tour eating our way through Boston. I wish that I would have had a little bit more time to try some different restaurants, and I definitely want to go back so that I can experience more of the wonderful food culture that Boston has to offer. Eclectic it is, it sort of reminds me in some ways of Charleston, but not. It just has its totally own feel to it, and so I just really enjoyed hanging out, and we found a few souvenirs for Christmas presents, and I don't know, we're about to go get some coffee and warm up. But we just finished we just finished the USS Constitution, which was really neat, and yeah, it's been a fun day.
I just covered a bucket list spot.
There's a cool view